What if I were to tell you that in an NBA game, where the game is going down to the wire, you got two great teams clashing at each other basket after basket. But none of that matters. And the only thing that really matters is whatever team the refs had their money on that game. Ladies and gentlemen, the refs are ruining the NBA. I know a lot of y'all out there already know this, but today in this video I'm going to tell you guys my reasons of why I believe the refs are ruining the NBA. Number 1, inconsistency. I'm going to begin explaining this topic by traveling in the past a few years back to the James Harden era, where James Harden was prime James Harden. We all know back in this era, Harden was an expert at cheating the game, cheating the rules, cheating the refs. I mean, bro was even cheating on his diet, let's be real. But the crazy thing is, the fault isn't really on Harden. It's more so on the refs for allowing Harden to do what he did. I mean, we've all seen the memes of the double step back, right? It
looked like Harden did 2 step backs. That's a travel. That's a travel.
And one of the main reasons this became so popular is because the refs allowed it to happen in an NBA game. And people who watched the NBA decided to adapt that move into their own game and started practicing it. It even affected other NBA players such as Steph Curry, who implemented it into his own game. Because the refs had allowed this to happen over and over and over again, traveling became a joke in the NBA. I mean, listen to what Dwayne Wade had to say about traveling in the NBA.
Is there any traveling calls in the modern NBA? I don't think so. As a fan watching the game just like you, Fabio, I never see a traveling call. You can call travel on almost every play. Once the NBA has allowed an extra few steps, it becomes hard to even call travels.
I don't know about you guys, but personally, I believe that the NBA is the best basketball league in the world, and it does contain the best basketball players in the world. So why are they not held to the highest standards? Why were the refs completely neglecting the rule of traveling over so many years? I personally think that this was just unacceptable, and it's crazy that it was even a thing. But fast forward to today's game, I think we're finally gonna get what we wanted all along. Or are we? It's no question that this season there's been more travel calls than any other season, at least as of late. And there's 2 reasons for this. Number 1, the refs are actually not neglecting the rule of traveling anymore and actually starting to look for the call. And number 2, players have adapted to the old way where traveling was allowed. And now it's not all of a sudden, so they have to change. But the fact of the matter is, there's still inconsistency in these calls, even in today's game. I mean, how is this not a travel? But this is a travel. Allow me to further examine this whole idea of inconsistency. I'm going to compare 2 different Steph Curry shots, but he does a similar move in both of them. This first shot is from Game 6 of the NBA Finals from just last season. Curry gets a pump fake, waits for the defender to fly by, and hits the 3. But he did travel if you look closely at his feet. Let's look at it again. Travel, but it wasn't called. Now this shot is from this season where Steph had a very similar shot and he did travel once again, but this time it was called. The frustration that you see on these players' faces after they get called for a travel is 1, because yes, they did turn it over, but number 2, they don't even think that they did travel because they've been doing the same moves for years and years and years, and now all of a sudden the rules have just changed, and that's what I mean by inconsistency. Here's one more example for you. Now remember that clip I just showed you of Steph versus the Mavs? Now take a look at this game winner by Tyler Hero. He does a very similar move, but his is not called a travel. So why is that? Answer: inconsistency. Now, if we're going to talk about travels, we're going to have to mention carries as well. If you've been watching the NBA recently, you know that the refs are calling carries more often as well. My biggest example is going to have to be Jordan Poole. If you watch Jordan Poole, you know he carries the ball a lot, and he does get called for carries a lot. But he's not the only player in the NBA that carries the ball. Many players do it. Someone like Ja Morant carries the ball a lot, but he's rarely ever called for it. This is something that needs to change because you can't base calls off of the player. And this brings me to my next reason, techs. Now we all know techs have a bit of bias when it comes to the certain players that are receiving them. For example, Draymond Green is more likely to get a tech or even like a flagrant foul than someone else. Or you can say it's even harder for Draymond to get a tech versus someone else because Draymond is constantly yelling and talking to the refs that it's like, oh, it's just Draymond, we're not going to give him a tech. And that's just not fair. But with all this technical foul injustice pushed to the side, we can talk about how ridiculous technical fouls have actually gotten these days. I mean, look at this clip right here. Jason Tatum literally gets a technical foul for clapping his hands. He didn't say a word to the ref, nothing. This is what NBA fans hate. They hate to see players not being able to express any sort of emotion or do anything because it's a tech every single time. And that just slows the game down, and it makes this rising stereotype of the NBA has gone soft and the NBA is soft. Now, I'm not saying that I want the NBA to just go completely rogue and allow anything to happen without any punishment, but I'm just saying that players should be allowed to show some emotions after certain plays without being afraid of getting a technical foul. I mean, it's gotten so bad that Luka can't even talk to his own teammates without getting a tech. The refs need to be held accountable on some sort of preset standard, and there should be punishment for bad and horrible calls like this. Which actually brings me to my final point, that refs need to be better at making calls down the stretch. I mean, take the Lakers and Mavs game that happened recently, the one that went to double overtime. ESPN put out a report after that game and said that the refs had missed 7 calls, that there were 7 incorrect calls in the final 2 minutes of the fourth quarter. And I know we all saw Tim Hardaway Jr. slap Troy Brown Jr.'s hand so hard he couldn't even get the shot off, really. Imagine if that was called a foul, which it should have been called a foul. There would be 3 free throws, and Troy Brown Jr. could have an opportunity to win the game right there in fourth quarter, and it would never have gone into overtime or double overtime. And instead of the Mavericks winning in double overtime, the Lakers probably would have won. This just shows the level of power that the refs have over the game of basketball. They are able to define who wins the game and who will lose this game based on crucial calls down the stretch. Overall, if the refs continue to be inconsistent with their calls, they continue to call outrageous technical fouls, and they continue to miss crucial calls down the stretch, the NBA is not looking good. Anyways guys, that's gonna do it for this video. Make sure you hit subscribe, leave a like on the video, and comment down below what you guys think about the refs and the state of the NBA right now. I would love to hear it. Peace.